And welcome to another high vibe channeling session this Sunday, May 17th, 2026. And today we have the grand pleasure of Serge Grandbois coming back to us with his higher self, Kris. And they have been teaching mindfulness or mastering mindfulness and conscious creation and the law of attraction through their coaching sessions for over 40 years. And he is a certified hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, life coach, and as he says, that makes him certified. His
Or
channeling,
certifiable, whichever one you want.
okay. He has enabled transformative change for his attendees and individuals and people from his classes across various backgrounds in various parts of the world. And Kris's insights and compassion is at the forefront of that. And his those attributes are even more pronounced to help individuals unlock the vast potential of human adventure. But in a world filled with uncertainties and disempowerment, alternative approaches offered and taught by Kris and Serge offer pathways for reclaiming your personal power and finding your renewed sense of purpose and meaning. And you can check out his website, channelingkris.com. That's Kris. And there is information there about his classes and his other teaching, and a nice article on channeling from his point of view as well. And if I left anything out, my job here is done. It's up to Kris to fill in the blanks, or Serge to fill in the blanks. Take it away, Serge. Thank you.
For some reason, I just see Ed Sullivan. Get the shoe on the road. Hey, thank you very much. Working with Kris for all these years has certainly been enlightening. Um, I know very certainly that without this particular aspect of my life coming forward, I would probably be in a very dire straits, simply because my own family background was fairly abusive, and statistically, it would not have fared well for me. Huh. So for that, I am very grateful. It's a dimension of life that I I actually have very few words able to express it. So big it is. Hmm. And actually, that's a very interesting topic. I'll just let him continue that. I just got that little bing bing. It's, it's like the old-fashioned gas station when a car drives in and the guy in the booth hears the bing bing. Have to go service the car. Now we trust that you are comfortable.
More comfortable now that you are here, Kris. Thank you.
Indeed. And we thank you for your consideration. You used a few very important words as you were giving us the most eloquent introduction. And those words were in a world filled with uncertainty. And it may appear as just a few random words strung together to make an eloquent sentence. And at the same time, it speaks to and addresses something very, very significant. Human beings always seek some kind of certainty of one kind or another. And for whatever reason, it may stem back far into time where you didn't know if the next morning you would be eaten by a bear as you stepped out of the cave. Life was filled with uncertainty. And the search for some kind of certainty to counter the uncertainty may still be going on. And for instance, people ask, what is the purpose of life? Because you may feel as if life is filled with uncertainty, and therefore you need some reassurance. And yet, the answer may be so simple, it may astound you. You could say, very, very sincerely, that the purpose of life is attention. And that may strike home much more than you imagine. Because whatever you give your attention to, it becomes your life. Not your intentions, not your plans, not your worries. What you actually look at, think about, invest time in. That is the meaning you've chosen. Whether you admit it or not, or recognize it or not. But if you do dwell upon it, you may recognize the truth in it. Some people ask, what is love? Because love in itself may appear elusive, uncertain. People worry about having it or not having it, and so on and so forth. And love is, in a sense, witnessing. Love isn't what you feel. It's choosing to fully see someone, their fear, their beauty, their contradictions, and not looking away. Most people have never been witnessed. That is why you say love changes everything. And in its own way, it is an art of witnessing the other. Some people ask, what do humans fear? What do they fear the most? And the answer, in a way, can be almost shocking. And it is irrelevance, not death, not pain, but the terror that you'll vanish and nothing will change, that your absence won't echo. People fear being forgotten more than they fear dying. And some people ask, why do we suffer? The answer could also be overly simplistic and at the same time hit you right between the eyes. Why do you suffer? For contrast. Now, of course, all of these things are tied in and locked into all the varieties of beliefs that you have about this and that. But this can give you some real pause, especially about suffering and the contrast it offers. For instance, you might not necessarily know light without the darkness, or joy without some pain or confusion, peace without some chaos. And suffering, or even having beliefs aligned with that, isn't a mistake in the system. It's how you teach you what matters. So you use it as a teaching tool. Without it, nothing would necessarily have weight. And when you consider that, that's a heavy hitter. Other people ask, Who or what is God? Again, the answer, without flattening it, could be quite eye-opening. Again, who and what is God? Awareness. The part of you observing this moment, asking the question, wondering if it's true. You could say that this is as much in touch with the divine as you can get, being aware of the implications of your awareness. Mm. You could say then that God is what's awakened you right now. So there is this exchange between all of the various gaps and extremes in your living experience. And once you start realizing that this particular lifetime is so unique that you have chosen it of all the unlimited potential lifetimes within which to have your awareness, you might recognize that there is something so precious with this particular lifetime that even the idea of trying to reach higher frequencies, higher dimensions, and so on and so forth, though very nice explorations in and of themselves, simply cannot match the depth and width and height and weight and beauty of this particular living moment within which you have your experience. And when you pause or ponder all of this, then you may begin to grasp the weight of your own awareness in this here and now. And there is very little else that is as precious as being aware of the breath that you take now, of the heart beating in this moment, and of your presence in this very moment. Does that make sense to you?
Very much so. Very eloquent. Thank you, Kris.
Hmm. People all over the world wonder about the nature of life and experience, but they are so curated to always seek in the next moment what could be some fleeting joy that they forget that it exists in the so-called here and now. And if all your energy is spent running after the next moment, you will never find what you look for. But you will find it if you pause, breathe, contemplate, and just relish the experience of being. So that is our little presentation, if you like. And if you have any questions about that or along those lines or any other lines, please feel free.
And thank you very much for that. And speaking of this particular experience, I had a thought today, and I knew that you would be one of the best forms of consciousness expression to ask in my experience. But the entities which choose the physical plane for their Earth experience, I would imagine that they choose more than just a human form. Is it, would you say that it would be usual for those souls are representations of consciousness to experience other life forms in the earth plane as well, like plants or rocks or other animals?
The natural expression of consciousness is to quote unquote express in as many possible variations as can be imagined. This is why you have an imagination. You don't necessarily think of yourself as the tree in your backyard or down the street, or as the bird that lands on a branch on that tree, or as the cloud passing above. But these are all other expressions of your own consciousness. But your mainstay is you. The rest, you could say, functions in the background. It still feeds some form of information and knowledge and wisdom, but the mainstay is you, as delightfully so as can be. Even on your off days, meaning on your bad days as you want, you are still focused on you. That is why it is important, especially when you feel off, to return to a more ancient connection. Perhaps forest walking, or just taking your shoes and socks off and walking in the grass in your own backyard and just connecting with the earth. Or if there is a stream nearby when you go for a walk in the park, soak your feet in it. Just that kind of sensory experience can reset your nervous system, take it out of fight or flight or fear context, and ground it. Changing your breathing, the old system of pranic breath, abdominal breathing, moving up into the chest, and then upper lung area and slowly exhaling, also does that. And there are varieties of other methods utilized in Chinese traditional medicine, in Tai Chi, in all sorts of other functions. Look at the ancient natives, aboriginal people. They have an unique connection with the physical representation of their universe. They connect to it. They are part of that cycle and that spectrum. They do not see themselves as separated from it, but instead as a living, dynamic function of that kind of cosmology. And it helps to ground them. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, very much so. And it, and I immediately thought about it's like we create the hologram of the room, like a holodeck on Star Trek, and we go into it, but it is all our creation. We're the main focus, and we
Indeed,
invent everything.
it is in a way mm, reformulated energy, emotional energy, in such a way as to create things that can be perceived by your senses. So the holodeck is an absolutely perfect example. So the books behind you, you have read some of them. So you have invested some time and energy in reading the words from another author, but these words have triggered something in your own psyche and created narrative, which then gets translated into your living experience. And that is also a dynamic expression of relational intelligence. not transactional. You often think your world is based on transactions, but it isn't. It is based on relations. And the most profound relational experience you can have is with you. That is the one mainstay, that relational experience with yourself. From there, everything expands. Just like you would drop a pebble in the center of a still pond, and it keeps expanding in the ripples.
Excellent. That was a pretty in-depth answer. Much appreciated. Wei, your turn to ask a question of Kris, please.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, Chris. Yeah, thanks for the explanation. It's really meaningful. I'm curious about my past lives, and also want to know what I want to teach myself in this life. Sometimes I find it a little bit confusing.
Hmm. So you are confused about what you want to teach yourself in this life.
Yeah,
What is your most pressing question about that?
most impression. What do you mean?
What is the most pressing concern about
Yeah,
your life? Is it just this? What am I teaching myself?
yeah. Yes, what I'm teaching myself, and also right now I feel like I'm a little bit in this spiritual way. Um, so I started doubting also myself what I'm supposed to do here.
Hmm.
Um,
That is very, very good. What am I supposed to do here in this life?
mhm.
Am I supposed to learn some heavy duty spiritual knowledge and share it with people so that they become enlightened? Or am I trying to teach myself how to relate to my life? There are two different things. One is external. The other, the latter one, is internalized, and that's the one that matters. The whole system as you know it right now, especially the transactional nature of human experience as it is expressed now, is all about things that are outside that you want to connect to. Everything is outside of yourself. That is because you and countless others have forgotten that the only life and the only thing about life that is truly important is you. Not what do I have to do and change about me so that other people love me? What do I have to think so that people can appreciate me? What do I have to say so that others can look upon me? That is all externalized and transactional. It is not relational. When you begin to internalize such a process, how can I be of the best service to myself? That begins to change the equation. How do I understand what I create? How do I relate to what I create? How do I relate to the world that I perceive? What relationships do I have with these kinds of events, or the person I was as a younger person? Or what kind of relationship do I have with nature? These are the ones that actually open inner pathways to a deeper understanding of your own nature. You don't have to understand the nature of other people. That takes you away from your sense of being. But once you start to catch on to, oh, my feeling tones, my emotions, my thinking nature, what I give my attention to, not my intention, what I give my attention to, suddenly starts showing up in my life. If I start fearing everything, what is your life going to be but an expression of fight and flight? You want to move away from that so you can put your mind to rest. And that is the big issue, the mind. Everyone wants your mind's attention so that your mind is not on you, but on everything else and everyone else. Again, it isn't about your intention. It is about what do you put your attention on? Is it on you and your creations? Or is it on everything and everyone else? Think of all the social media right now. Everything wants you to have a reaction and to make a comment. And that actually takes you outside of yourself. Because most of the attentions and most of the reactions are actually unnecessary to have a fulfilling life. But when you become convinced that in order to have a fulfilling life, you must fill these needs, then you lose touch with the essence of your being. So your being and your essence is what is important in your life, nothing else. So our humble suggestion is start looking at the elements that show up in your life, relate to them, acknowledge, yes, this exists, whether it is pleasant or unpleasant. It is the result of what I have given my attention to, and I literally brought it into my life in one form or another. If, for instance, you want a nice journey into the forest, but all the while you are calling for the moose and the bear, what do you think is going to show up? The moose and the bear. So that is to say, pay attention to what you give your attention to. Very, very simple process. That is what you are teaching yourself. That is what you're trying to learn. Does that make some sense to you?
Yeah, the last sentence I found is really, really interesting. Pay attention to what my attention is
Yes.
on, right?
Basically,
So,
pay attention to what you give attention to.
mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, thanks. I'll try to think about it.
And that may actually answer hundreds of other questions you have all lined up for yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And even though sometimes it appears as if, on the one hand, we are offering something simple, but on the other hand, you have to think about it. That's the whole point. You have to think about it. You have to draw your attention to the center of your being and not scatter it to the winds.
Mhm. Yeah.
Indeed, then we thank you for your kindness.
Yeah, it always makes sense. It's a kindness. Thanks, Chris.
Indeed. Somebody else has an inquiry, perhaps, or
Chris,
observation.
Christina Anna.
Greetings, Kris. Thank you for being with us. It is a pleasure.
The pleasure is ours as well.
Thank you. Before I get to my question, I know Wei is interested in hearing about past parallel lives of hers. Could you maybe mention one or two that are relating to what she's experiencing now?
Oh, thanks, Christiana. Yeah.
Hmm.
I also forgot my original question.
That is also interesting. And we do want to try to keep it within the context of what we discussed with you.
Mhm.
The idea is that the quest for parallel or other kinds of lives can be rewarding. The point is to investigate it or look into it as if there is an aspect of your life that may be a little bit out of sync with you. Perhaps you have two minds on a particular subject. Say, some friends want to invite you to dinner, but you have other plans. And you might consider, should I cancel my plans or should I cancel them? What do I do? At another level, there is an aspect of you that might simply go with your original idea, and at the same time, another aspect go with your friend's request to join them for dinner. These kinds of lives, calling them parallel lives is very interesting also. Do you know what parallel lines are? Yes?
Mhm.
So one of you decides to go with your original plan, but another aspect of you goes with the new plan. How would you bring the new plan into integration with yourself? So, say you think about the parallel situation, you know your other friends, you have an idea of the joy you would have having dinner with them, as well as your original plan to have dinner with your other friends. How do you reconcile that? You could, for instance, use one of your most potent tools. In fact, it is the most potent tool in the human being, your imagination. So you relax your ideas about yourself and go on a little inner adventure. How would dinner with your other friends turn out? Visualize it. You know your friends, you know what they look like, you know what the evening would be like. And what kind of satisfaction would you bring back into this moment? It is a very simplistic approach, but it works well because the imagination can, your mind does not and is not able to distinguish the two realities. When you focus clearly on an imaginary pursuit, you derive the benefits. You bring into actualization some of the adventures you had with your other set of friends. It becomes part of your experience. And when we say the imagination is one of your most powerful tools as a human being, it might be impossible to appreciate the full scope of that. Because if you think about this, every single human accomplishment, every single one of them, from the great civilizations of Mesopotamia, of Rome, and so on, to the modern day skyscrapers, to your inventions, from the wheel to technology, Every single one of them requires the use of imagination. The imagination is often maligned. Parents tell their children, oh, stop that nonsense and get real, grow up. And yet the child is using his or her imagination to form their lives and their future from moment to moment. So it is an essential, and we must say, in quotation marks, an essential part of the human experience. Without your imagination, you won't go very far. You might still be picking lice off each other's back. So we cannot emphasize enough, use your imagination. So just as a small example, from a very early age, Joseph was seemingly very good in the kitchen. He even toyed with the idea of going to culinary school at one point, but decided it was not necessary. He didn't necessarily want to become a chef, but he has some particular skills with cooking. At this point in his life, he can make something delicious out of anything in his cupboard and fridge. So some time back, there was a period of quiet at his work, and the question about where do these cooking skills come from popped into his head. And oddly enough, his imagination kicked in. It is as if a window or an portal into time-space opened up, and he could see himself, different body, but still recognize himself in an ancient Roman senator's kitchen as the chef. All the cooking implements, pots and pans and the meats and the vegetables and the sauces and everything at his disposal. So in that state, he learned some valuable cooking skills that still influence him in the kitchen today. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
what allowed that opening, interestingly enough? Attention. He shifted his attention from, I don't know, to maybe a part of me knows. And boom, he focused in on the channel. Just like when you are surfing the television and you hit upon a channel. Oh, this is a nice show. Let me watch this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So clarify your question. Clarity is very important. Clarity will determine the quality of your attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then that allows you to drop your resistances. It softens the boundaries between your resistance and some potential answers. And then let your imagination have a little bit of fun. It doesn't have to be world saving or the ultimate everything, but test it out. Play with your imagination. Remember how you imagined life as a child. And let yourself have fun in that way.
Mhm. Maybe just one question about this imagination. I feel like sometimes my imagination could go to a very pessimistic way. Is this
Then
something we should
bring it
have
back.
to?
Just
Okay.
bring it back. So I don't want pessimism. I want optimism. I
Yeah.
want brightness, not just cloudy. I want clarity, not confusion. You have to tweak it if it has been entrained, curated to veer towards the pessimism. Slowly bring it back. Teach it to work to your advantage. You are not the victim of your imagination, nor the victim of your feelings or emotions or anything in that way. You are the one that has your hands on the controls.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
makes
basically
sense.
put, you are the boss of you. So
Yeah.
be a boss,
Yeah,
not
I
a
take it.
line
Yeah.
worker.
Yeah. Thanks, Kris. Yeah, that's a
Indeed.
good tips.
You are most welcome. So, Christina, how
Yeah.
does that work for you?
It works very well in theory.
You have to also try it out. We could say, in the most simplistic terms, you imagined yourself into being. You used your parents' DNA to become this form of you, this version of you, in this particular version of this universe. You did that. And that doesn't mean it's your fault. It means wonderful creating from pessimism to optimism.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to discuss because, like, in this physical reality, fluctuation in energies is kind of normal.
Of
Uh,
course, if you didn't have, if everything ran smooth all the time, you wouldn't have any challenges. You wouldn't be able to pit yourself against your own fears. You would be swept away. You would be bowled over. You would find everything rather boring. What is my challenge in life? Everything is same. I need excitement. I need to know that my heart can beat strong. My blood can boil sometimes, and sometimes not. But everyone needs contrast. That is why you created this particular dualistic universe. You thrive on contrast. The point is not to become so spiritual you eliminate all contrast. That is self-defeating. You want to manage the contrast. It's another issue.
Very good point, Chris. Thank you.
Indeed.
So, would you have any advice at this now moment?
As we suggested to Wei, in so many words, pay attention to where your attention is. If, for instance, as many people in spiritual contexts always ask themselves, am I spiritual enough? Am I doing the right kind of mantra? Am I thinking the right kind of thinking? You have lost your bite. That causes distraction, a sense of ungrounding. If you put all of that aside and just recognize it, my attention is on being me as I can fully be, things start happening to reflect that. But if you ask yourself, am I fully myself? Am I meditating the right way? Some people are want to say, well, you have to meditate the right way. Well, we can tell you that they've already lost the contest. There is no contest. There is no right way. You are who you are. And that is a full package. And There is nothing missing. There is nothing to add, but there is experience to unfold. You are not going to become more spiritual by adding different rituals and mantras and candles and crystals and this and that, or going to higher dimensions. Who you are right now is the best possible version of you. Go with that. If an Olympic runner starts asking himself or herself, am I running fast enough now? Do I need to run faster or less or this or that? What do you think is going to happen? They're going to trip.
Mm.
They don't care about that. At that moment, their mind is focused on doing what they are there for, being the very best runner they possibly can. Not about beating the other guy, but about being the very best runner they can right now, in this moment. That is what matters. That's what makes the universe what it is. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense. And well, in that sense, the only thing I beat myself up a lot is for, tidying up at the very bottom of my list because it's not my highest excitement. But
Hmm.
like I was telling Ray earlier, I'm focusing on realities where we are co-creating with feline beings, for example, and there's portals being used as part of everyday life. And that's where
And
my focus is.
that can be interesting in and of its own. But how is that benefiting you in the moment? Where is your attention when you concentrate on that? It is not in the moment. It is not in you.
Well, that's where my imagination is drawn to.
Yes, that is not an issue. The point being, what is your attention doing? Is it taking you out of the moment into other time-space continuums and galaxies and realities, but you are not here?
Mm.
There is
Yeah.
nothing wrong with these adventures, but for the most part, you are you. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to how you feel about certain things. Pay attention to going for a walk, enjoying the birds singing, looking at the little fish in the water by the stream. Perhaps there is a little dog there, or a tree with beautiful flowers, or a garden. You can say, well, these are all extraneous. I want other dimensions. But if you cannot enjoy and appreciate the dimension where you are your very best you, all the other stuff is fluff.
Indeed, but I do that when I'm out. I look at each and every tree and I marvel at their beauty and
Yes.
so on.
And
So,
you can also explore the relationship you have with everything you see, hear, smell, taste, touch. You have a relationship with all of these things because they stem from your energy.
mm,
Not only appreciate their beauty, but also look at how you relate to them, how you relate to the scenario. That is why relational intelligence is highly underrated
mm,
and at the same time can be most healing. So we encourage you to explore these things, but also make certain you pay attention to what you pay attention to.
okay, I will do that. Thank you very much.
Indeed. Now, might there be another inquiry or
Well,
observation? Please.
well, now that you've suggested that, yes, Renee.
Hello, Chris. Nice to meet you. This is my first time here. And I was invited by Ray because so I draw these little hybrids, and they I don't know if you can see them or not, but they come through, and my question is, they seem to have chosen me to draw them in order to introduce them to humanity. And I call them hybrids, and because that's how they come across. And the images that I draw carry their frequency, and they're very joyful. Their frequency is very joyful, and they want me to distribute these pictures across the globe to raise the vibration, to help the planet raise their vibration, so that we can meet them and be in their frequency, and raise our frequency to meet their frequency, so that we can actually see them, or at least communicate telepathically with them. And so I'm just wondering if they have any messages for me, because they're really coming through strong right now, the last couple weeks. And they've been coming through for over a decade now. But now it seems like it's go time, and that's why I'm wondering if they have any messages for me.
Now, you have stated that they are communicating in this way with you to spread a message. So they
Yes,
have already established a communication with you.
yes, they flow through my artwork, but like
Yes.
I don't hear them like talk to me or anything like that.
Hmm. That isn't necessarily a must. Just the act of what you're doing is a message. It doesn't have to go into other realms in that particular way. The actions that you are doing, the drawings,
Mhm.
those put you in a different state of mind.
Yes,
You observe reality from a different point of view, from a different perspective. Your perceptions are changed.
yes,
That, for you, is the communication.
yes,
How to alter and change the perception. Think of it this way. When you listen to the radio or watch television, you channel surf. The radio, you turn the dial, you get different kinds of stations, static in between, then you hit a station.
yes,
In the television, you go channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 125, and you zoom in on it. So it
yes,
is like your attention. Your attention functions along similar lines, if you want. It's perhaps a little bit simplistic, but it brings the point home. So you already have a connection. You are able to attune your attention to that particular frequency or channel.
yes,
You can fine tune it a little bit more. And again, it isn't that you must have a particular word or set of words to validate your experience. So, what we're telling you is the validation cannot and must not necessarily come from us or outside of yourself, but from within yourself. So, keep paying attention to what your attention is doing.
okay,
And that may open up yet other significant pathways, both in the brain, nervous system, and psyche.
okay,
That is why we're encouraging you to do it, not to seek an outside validation, though it would be very nice, simply because it might cause a conclusion. And we are not necessarily in favor of having an absolute conclusion because that closes the book. Yes, done, let's move on.
I see.
So it should be a perhaps like a flower that is blooming. The petals keep opening and opening and opening. Always gems and treasures revealing themselves. So that must come from you, from within you.
Okay,
And all of these drawings are actually symbols for deeper states of consciousness and experience. So you are the author of these things. Does that make
So
some sense to you?
it
Basically,
feels
we are
like,
putting it back in your lap.
yeah, it feels like I'm the author of them, but it's them coming through. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And therefore, since they are coming through you in that way, it is also relevant for you to dig a little deeper, if you like. Attune yourself to the dance and the music that is being presented to you. Learn to boogie in a way.
They are so they're so like that, yes. They're they are they're so like here's this one, watch.
Indeed.
They're so
Now,
joyful. They're
you can
so
also look at
they
it in a
boogie.
slightly different way, expanding your bandwidth, if you want, of attention, because some of these symbols are archetypal in nature, but presented in another, let's say, another accent of archetypal language. Play with that. Have fun with it.
It is so much fun. I can't even there was all these other avenues that I was going down, like my highest excitement. And the whole time I was drawing these hybrids or these entities, and they bring me so much joy. And I know that they're infused with their energy and their joy.
Hmm.
And it came to me last night that I was supposed to write a story. I have this alter ego. Her name is Magdalene the Dragdalene, and she writes stories, and she's supposed to write a story about how there's this place, because you said it too, called the in between place. And that is where our frequencies will overlap. And
Indeed.
that where they overlap is called the in between place. And that's
And
where humanity will meet them.
and you used a very interesting word. Now, earlier on with way, we talked about aspects. You used what word to qualify them? Alter ego.
Magdalene the Dragdalene, she's my alter
Hmm.
ego, yes.
So you could say that alter egos are also aspects of you in a different configuration, if you like.
Mm,
So again, play with the theme because truth be told, everything in human experience is an expression of your own self
mm.
or selves, if you like. You are many selves, you just don't know what they are. So this is another presentation of your other selves. You are psychologically speaking in a different language.
Yes.
Indeed. Now, we thank you
Thank you.
and we suggest to return to Ray and perhaps wrap up the evening.
And thank you very much, Kris. We appreciate all of that wisdom. It has been very interesting, and we can all learn from all of that. And with love to you. Appreciate it.
Indeed, it is our humble pleasure, and we thank you for your consideration and kindnesses.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much.
Hello. How did it go?
Fabulous as always. And he's right on time. I think Kris has a timer working.
Well, you remember the archaic, almost Neanderthal-like days of cassette players, cassette recorders?
Yes.
Sometimes he would end it 2 seconds before the tape clicked off.
Uh,
It's like he knew or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like waking up 1 minute before your alarm goes off.
Yeah, I'm good with that too.
Very nice, very nice. Cool. It's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to going over this one again. Thank you, Serge.
Cool. Thank you.
So
And
did you ever go through and learn how to cook more from your Roman counterpart?
no, I don't remember cooking any Romans really. Uh, but I do appreciate something uh, because the Roman world is this was um, extremely popular in the entire Roman Empire. They used a special kind of fermented fish gut sauce
Mhm.
that is not unlike Worcestershire sauce. So I think Worcestershire sauce was an extension of that. But from the descriptions I've read, I really wouldn't have touched that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, and I don't remember what that's called. I remember it starts with a G, but that's,
Yeah.
oh well. It'll come back another time.
Okay.
But thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I was wondering if, when you have it transcribed, if I could get a copy of the transcription,
Sure. Absolutely. Whatever you'd
or if
like.
even just the audio, because I have a transcriber on my computer.
Okay, yeah, that's fine too. Yep, whichever one. Let's see. Yeah, I was looking for the name of that, but oh, garum. Yeah, there we
Oh,
go.
yes, yes, that's what it was. Yeah, barrels and barrels. I can imagine the stench. Fermented fish guts. Thanks.
Thanks, Serge.
In a weird way, I think that's why the Roman Empire died.
That's an
Okay.
exploration for another day.
Yep. Okay. Good night. Thanks.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye bye.
Yep, the Roman army ran on fermented fish. Okay, and thanks for all who attended and who asked such interesting questions. That was interesting for all of us. And we're going to take a break so I can refill my tea, and then we'll bring the hybrid children back in. So hang tight, and I'll be back in 3 or 4 minutes.